Imagine this. It's 1955. You wake up not to a smartphone alarm, but to the sharp ring of a mechanical clock sitting on your nightstand. No scrolling through social media, no checking emails, just the morning light spilling through your window and the distant sound of birds chirping in the trees outside your quiet suburban neighborhood. This is America in the 1950s, a time of post-war prosperity, optimism, and rapid change, but also a time defined by strict routines, traditional roles, and an idealized version of the American dream. So, what did an ordinary day really look like for the average American in the 1950s? Let's rewind the clock and live a full day, hour by hour. 6:30 a.m., Rise and Shine, America. The day begins early. There are no snooze buttons. Most American families are already stirring before 7 a.m. In a modest home in the suburbs, maybe in Levittown, New York, or a growing neighborhood in California, the father is the first to rise. He shaves with a safety razor, slicks back his hair with Brill cream, and gets dressed in a crisp white shirt, slacks, and a narrow tie. On goes the gray flannel suit, the fedora, and the polished leather shoes. Breakfast is calling. 7 a.m., breakfast, 1950s. Style in the kitchen, breakfast is a full event. Mom, often a full-time homemaker, is already up. She's preparing scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, or sausage, and a tall glass of fresh orange juice. Maybe even pancakes if it's a weekend. The radio plays softly in the background, tuned to a local AM station. It might be playing the latest hits from Nat King Cole, Patti Page, or maybe even a young Elvis Presley. The children shuffle in wearing pajamas, boys with slicked hair, girls with braids or ribbons. They sit at the Formica kitchen table while Dad reads the newspaper. Stories about Eisenhower, the Red Scare, and rising tensions with the Soviet Union. This is a nuclear family in the golden age of the American suburb. 8 a.m., off to school and work. Dad grabs his briefcase and heads off in a shiny Chevrolet Bel Air, or maybe a Ford Fairlane. He's headed to his job, perhaps in sales, advertising, or engineering. These are the booming white-collar jobs of the time, supported by a growing economy. Mom sees the kids off to school. They carry metal lunch boxes with comic book characters or cowboy heroes like Roy Rogers. Inside, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, an apple, and a homemade cookie. The streets are calm. No traffic jams, no chaos, just the hum of engines and the smell of fresh-cut grass. 8:15 a.m., school days, American style. In the classroom, children sit in tidy rows. They recite the Pledge of Allegiance with hands over hearts. The teacher, always addressed as Miss or Mr., is a figure of respect and authority. Lessons include cursive handwriting, math drills, history from a heavily patriotic lens, and the basics of reading comprehension. Discipline is strict. Talking back is rare. Gum chewing is a serious offense. Outside at recess, boys play tag or baseball. Girls might play hopscotch or jump rope. No smartphones, no distractions, just kids being kids. 9 a.m., the homemaker's morning. Back at home, Mom's day is just beginning. She tidies up the house, making beds, vacuuming carpets, and doing laundry with a wringer washer and clothesline. The smell of fresh soap and starch fills the air. Then, it's time for errands. The supermarket is a modern wonder of the time, shelves lined with canned goods, frozen TV dinners, and boxes of Kellogg's cereal. Brands like Jell-O, Campbell's Soup, and Coca-Cola dominate the aisles. If there's time, she might stop at the beauty parlor for a perm or a fresh manicure. This is the age of glamour after all, even for a day at home. 12 p.m., lunchtime in two worlds. For the working man, lunch means heading to a local diner or cafeteria. A BLT sandwich, a cup of black coffee, maybe a slice of cherry pie for dessert. For kids at school, it's time to pull out those lunch boxes. And for Mom, she might fix herself a simple sandwich and tune in to her favorite soap opera on TV, Guiding Light or As the World Turns. In these moments, the world seems peaceful, predictable. Life follows a rhythm. 2:30 p.m. After school adventures. When school lets out, kids walk or bike home. No pickups, no buses in most places. Just sidewalks filled with children, laughing and racing their Schwinn bicycles down the block. Once home, it's time for chores. Mowing the lawn, sweeping the porch, helping set the table. Then, maybe an hour of free time, watching cartoons like Looney Tunes or listening to a baseball game on the radio. Homework is done before dinner. That's non-negotiable. 5 p.m. The family reunites. Dad arrives home, tired but proud. He's greeted at the door by the smell of a home-cooked meal and the sight of his children already seated at the dinner table. He takes off his hat, hangs his coat, and joins them. Dinner is sacred. Everyone eats together. No TV, no distractions, just conversation. How was your day? What did you learn? Who did you play with? The food is hearty. Meatloaf or roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a slice of pie for dessert. This is the heart of the 1950s family culture. Structure, tradition, and shared time. 7 p.m. Evenings at home. As the sun sets, the family moves to the living room. The TV flickers on. It's black and white, of course, with dials instead of a remote. Popular shows fill the room. I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners, or The Ed Sullivan Show. Or maybe it's board game night. Monopoly, Scrabble, or Candyland. Sometimes the kids play outside a bit longer, riding bikes until the streetlights come on. The universal sign that it's time to come home. 9 p.m. Bedtime and quiet moments. By now, the kids are getting ready for bed. Pajamas on, teeth brushed, a bedtime story read by Mom or Dad. The house grows quiet. Mom and Dad might sit together on the porch with a cup of coffee or a cigarette, talking about the future, planning a vacation to the Grand Canyon or Disneyland, which just opened in 1955. There's a strong sense of routine and security in these moments, a sense that life, for all its imperfections, is safe and full of promise. Reflections, the myth and the reality. Of course, the 1950s weren't perfect. The idealized vision of the decade often leaves out important truths: racial segregation, the pressure on women to conform to domestic roles, and the paranoia of the Cold War. But for many families, this was a time of stability and growth, of backyard barbecues, community picnics, and the rise of American pop culture. It was a time when neighbors knew each other, when Sunday dinner was sacred, and when the future felt like something to be excited about. So, the next time you hear someone talk about the good old days, remember, the 1950s weren't just a decade. They were a way of life, one filled with structure, optimism, and a belief that tomorrow would be even better than today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos on life in yesterday's world.